Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, our very important speakers and all the stakeholders who are connected to this webinar. You are welcome to the Zoom webinar on family home funds. Our theme for today is family home funds scaling through the COVID-19 pandemics with new homes, new jobs for low-income earners. And we have very important personalities who we have invited to handle this topic today. And they are all here. I'm privileged to have with me Brigadier General Tunde Reis, who is the founder of First World Communities Limited, a company focused on large-scale delivery of affordable housing and associated infrastructure. For General Reis, is an experienced housing practitioner. I've known him in the housing sector as far back as 25 years ago. Brigadier General Tunde Reis retired. Is that Nigerian who established cooperative home system into the Nigerian military. And to that end, General Reis built housing estates in all the states of the Federation. Under his leadership, post-service home, that we are calling post-service housing today, did beautifully well. He did not only head up there. I remember that the same General Tunde Reis was the one that gave the idea to the Federal Road Safety Commission. He also gave the idea to the Air Force. He also gave the idea to the Navy. Today, I regard him as the father of modern housing development. So, General Tunde Reis, you are welcome on the program. General Tunde Reis, you are welcome on the program.
Thank you very much, Festus. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, sir. Also with me here this afternoon is Mr. Kainde Ogundemu, the Chief Executive of Nigeria Mortgage Refinance Company PLC. Mr. Kainde Ogundemu holds a Bachelor of Engineering, degree in Electrical Engineering from the University of Ibadan, and obtained an MBA from the University of Lagos, Nigeria. He's a seasoned professional with over 25 years working experience in financial services, secondary mortgage, and diversified banking, energy, and public accounting. Mr. Kainde Ogundemu, since he assumed the position of MD CEO of Nigeria Mortgage Refinance Company, has changed the direction of the place. And to this end, Nigeria Mortgage Refinance is doing well in the delivery of its mandate. So, Mr. Ogundemu, it's my pleasure to welcome you this afternoon.
Mr. Festus, thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you, sir. Also with me this afternoon for this very important program is Mr. Olu Olarewaju, who has been an executive director of operation at East Thames Group Limited. That is in London. Olarewaju served as an executive director of communities and neighborhood at East Thames Group Limited until December 2015. Mr. Olarewaju joined East Thames in 2013 to lead its communities and neighborhood directorate. He has a wide remit, including all the group's landlord services, customer service, care and support, and repair delivery. Mr. Olarewaju serves as managing director of housing. Mr. Olarewaju is one of the consultants who packaged the present day family home fund. I have his other name as Mr. Affordable Housing. Highly international and highly respected. It is my pleasure to welcome you, sir, Mr. Olu Olarewaju, a Nigerian who is based in the UK, but who has refused not say, at all costs, I must continue to support my country. The housing sector in my country must move forward. So it's a pleasure to have you all the way in UK this very afternoon. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you for the invite.
It's also my pleasure to introduce my friend and my brother, Mr. NSC Makojo. NSC graduated with BS in Economics from the University of Ilorin in 1995, obtained an MBA from the Nigeria University Business School, and MSc in Major Program Management from the University of Oxford. His work experience traversed organizations such as Citibank, FBN Merchant Bank, and more recently, Aso Savings and Loan, prior to join Federal Family Home Fund. He is currently the General Manager, Special Projects at Family Home Fund. Mr. NSC, as people are always calling you, it is my pleasure to welcome you this afternoon. You are welcome. Mr. NSC, are you here with me? You are welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege. Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here.
Thank you, sir. I also have my leader here. Oh God, his CV is very big. I don't know how I'll be able to read this. Malam Ali Muhammad Magashi. He was a consultant to the World Bank on housing finance, land reforms, and urban renewal, and did business in Nigeria, and was the coordinator for the Nigeria Vision 2020 National Technical Working Group on Housing, and later selected to serve on the 27-man Central Working Committee that produced the final blueprint for Nigeria. He is currently the aviation consultant and advisor to the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria. Mr. Halim Adash was a former president of Mortgage Banking Association of Nigeria, and as of today is the chairman of Aso Savings and Loan, and is also the chief executive of a leading real estate development company that have recently delivered about 250 units of houses in Kano. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the program, on the program. Alhaji Ali Magash, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me, Mr. Adebayo?
Thank you. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
And I also have here the only iron lady in our midst this afternoon, as no other person than Dr. Banke Abejirin. Dr. Abejirin is a mid-career professional with more than 10 years of experience in urban planning, economic development, research, and consulting. She has academic training in economics, international development, and urban planning, a strong background in quantitative and qualitative analysis, and experience studying and living in multicultural and international contexts. She has provided guidance and developed strategies for various public and private sector clients on a range of issues critical to African development. She is currently the strategy and business performance manager at Family Homes Fund. Dr. Banke, it's my pleasure to have you on this program today.
Thank you very much, Festus. Good to be here.
Now the business of the day. We will be playing our video where we will be showing you information about Family Home Fund. No more shall be said. And for the purpose of those who are connected to us on this program, I can see about 425 people now connected to us. It is necessary for me to say a little about Family Home Funds that we are discussing today. Family Home Fund is a social housing finance organization set up to provide Nigerians on low income with affordable homes and solutions. It was incorporated as a public-private organization promoted by the federal government of Nigeria as part of the social intervention program with initial shareholding by the Federal Ministry of Finance and Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority. Over the last 2 years, the fund has financed up to 3,600 homes. That's a good news for the press. In Delta, in Kano, Ogun, Kaduna, and Nasarawa states. The fund has recently commenced other projects in Bauchi, Borno, Adamawa and Yobe State, particularly focused on resettling IDPs into decent homes as they rebuild their families. Other states are in the pipeline. In addition to financing the construction of homes, Family Homes Fund Limited has developed solutions which include affordable home loans, assistance, and rental housing to ensure progress in both the demand and supply side of the Nigeria housing industry. Family Home Fund projects have employed up to 20,000 people at various levels, skilled and unskilled. We plan to ensure that the employment of up to 1.5 million Nigerians in the next 5 years. Family Home Fund homes are valuable from 2.99, that is from 2 million, with flexible payments. This is one fact that made Family Home Fund unique. The targets are the carpenters, the bricklayers, the policemen, and all sorts of people who are in the low cadre. So it's my pleasure to say, to move into the next level. We are going to move into the discussion of the day. I'm going to start this afternoon looking into the focus. The purpose of this program is we are at a period where COVID-19 is threatening the existence of mankind. Majority of the businesses are in problem. To this end, what can Family Home Fund do at this very important period? What are they doing? And how do they, what exactly do they want to do after the COVID-19? My first speaker today will be no other person than the only female we have in our midst, and that is Dr. Banke. And your first presentation, which will not last more than 5 minutes, we focus on what is the strategy, since you are in charge of strategy. What is the strategy for Family Home Funds amidst and post COVID-19, bearing in mind that this pandemic may run to 2021? What is the strategy for Family Home Fund?
Thank you very much, Festus, for that important question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
All right. I think in addition to highlighting the COVID-19 pandemic, it's important to also provide the larger context as well. In addition to COVID-19, we also have the crash in oil prices, which is bringing down our revenues. We have our downgrading of the ratings of Nigeria, which is lowering our ability to pay and to borrow rather. And so we have, in addition to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has sort of contracted the economy and pushed more people into poverty, more people into homelessness and the informal sector, it has strengthened both the importance and the commitment of what Family Homes Funds has set out and is mandated to do, which is number one, to provide affordable housing for those on low income, and also to create jobs. One might say, how do you define those on low income? So our resolve is still a strong commitment, and our business outlook is still very much focused on Nigerians who are vulnerable, who have not been able to really access the commercial markets thus far. Loosely speaking, we look at household income of about 100,000 per month, but to even contextualize that even more, recently the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics released a 2019 report to look at who are those living in poverty. And currently we have about 40% of our population having a per capita expenditure of 137,000 naira per year. And so we have a large and significant population living on less than 12,000 or being able to pay 12,000 for their various expenditure in a month. And so we are looking at this population and even beyond that. In terms of our strategic focus, we continue to push towards 4 key areas. Number one is to provide construction financing for developers, both public and private sector, at lower than market rates. So our rates are currently about 7 to 9% interest rate, which is about 100% less than the going market rate to ensure that we do have the supply of affordable housing in the market. Those 2 million naira houses can be out there. Secondly, we are working with different partners, some of which are on the call today, like the NMRC, to develop innovative solutions to ensure that people are able to access finance to be able to pay for these homes. And so we have the help to own product which we are developing, and as well a rental housing fund. We're also working very hard on intervening to pull down the costs of housing and eventually the selling price. So we're working with the Nigerian Institute of Architects to see about bringing about standardized house designs, and also with other stakeholders in the field on bringing about a standard bill of quantities. This would help to bring down the general cost of housing. We're also working with state governments to provide land as their own equity, which would also bring down the housing costs. Fourthly, we are doing aggressive capital mobilization. So knowing that the size of the revenue right now in the economy is really low, we are looking at other means of funding affordable housing. So these are the main things that we're looking at. And we know that we definitely acknowledge and would like to let the public know that we're really committed and are aware of the challenges that this period has brought, and are working very hard to ensure that we are able to meet our commitments. As real quick to touch on the numbers, Festus, you've mentioned that we have about 3,600 homes across 5 locations. We've also committed to another 13,520 homes in 6 locations across the country. Our aim was to have 20,000 homes by the end of this year, but we have to look back at those numbers given the current economic situation. We hope that over the next 5 years, at least 200,000 homes will be built, and we would have people buying into them. Thank you.
I've received messages from the media houses that are connected to us at this very important time. At this point, for those who are connected to us, I would like you to start sending your questions that we'd like to ask the speakers. And please don't forget that we have some questions that are samples, that are poll questions that are already online, which you need to answer. Some of the questions have to do with, have you heard of Family Home Fund before? Do you know Family Home Fund has put up to 3,000 homes, as mentioned by the speaker? Do you know Family Home Fund has houses that sell as low as 3 million, as mentioned by the speaker? Do you know Family Home Fund has provided up to 18,000 jobs in the past 2 years? These are issues we have right now. Line up online for the participants. You are expected to please fill. Your answer should either be yes or no. You know about it or you don't know about it. Now move to the next speaker. Mr. NSC Makoju, you have just heard from your colleague who have just told us what you have been doing and what you also intend to be doing even after the post-COVID era. Please, can you tell us, these are most of the things she said have to do with the supply side. What are you doing about the demand side? What are your products for Nigerians? How are you empowering the demand side of the economy? What are the products you have a Family Home Fund? Thank you, Dr. NSC.
It's a nice question. Yeah. So obviously, we were set up as an agency to intervene in the housing market in Nigeria generally, with a focus to ensure availability and affordability of housing in the low to moderate income market space. And like you said, yes, our functionalities cut across both divides on the demand and the supply side. The supply side is pretty straightforward. We fund developers to build houses and increase supply in the market. However, on the demand side, it's a bit, we're very, very involved on the demand side, but I must say that our products here are a bit more, would I say, complex or a bit more sophisticated, given the trends in the demand side. See, the biggest challenge in the market over the years has been affordability. Affordability, yes, from a cost perspective, most of the houses built are relatively expensive, especially if we benchmark cost of the houses we build in Nigeria with the cost of houses in our peer economies, right? So that's established. But again, it's one thing for a house to be costly. It's another thing to create an affordability framework for people to be able to buy it. And when we're talking affordability here, we're talking about making it convenient for people to be able to pay within their allowances or salaries or whatever the case may be. So our affordability strategy is more or less a retail strategy because we're not dealing with institutional developers. So what do? We create products that we need to push into the market and make available to that retail market space, the low and moderate income segment of society. And if you take into consideration the pricing, our pricing target, which is anything from 3 million to 9 million, then we're talking about generally a good 30 to 40% of the whole economy, or maybe I'd say, to be a bit more conservative, at least 25% of the economy. So we have created a product today. It's our flagship product. It's very much in the pilot phase. So it's something we started kind of making available to certain elements of the market segment, but it's something we intend to launch. And if not for the lockdown recently, I'm very optimistic we'll have fully launched and this product will be distributed in the marketplace would have been in distribution by June. But we have this product called the Help to Own product. And it's a retail mortgage hybrid product. It's a product that we have created and we have gotten buy-in and actually even signed off partnerships with a number of commercial banks and primary mortgage institutions, i.e. mortgage banks. It's a product we're taking into the market using the distribution network of these commercial banks and our own marketing department working in hand with them, targeting retail customers who want to acquire affordable homes, primarily the ones we develop, but also to include generally houses that meet what we call our eligibility criteria, i.e. our pricing criteria. Now, it's a hybrid product in the sense that the product itself, it's a mix of your traditional mortgage finance loan, inclusive of our own, if you like, subsidized mortgage component. So the Help to Loan product is basically a combination of your standard traditional mortgage finance loan, which will typically take up about 50% of the loan amount, and our own component, which will fund 40% of the loan amount of the house. And our loan, the traditional mortgage will come at your normal market rate, but generally also subsidized because of the mass market we're targeting. So we have the commercial banks coming with funding 50% of the value of a house at their rates, which would be at market rates, which would be around 17–18%. And we fund a 40% component of the loan at less than 10%. But the thing that makes it very affordable for buyers is that inherent in the product is a 5-year mortgage on principal and interest for the component that we fund, the Help to Loan product. So at the end of the day, when a buyer wants to buy the product, by the time you add our 40% financing element to the traditional loan element, 50%, you have a blended interest rate that is much more affordable, near single digits, right? And with the moratorium that we give, so much easier to pay, at least in the first 5 years of booking the loan. So what we have created is something that makes affordability, enhances the capacity of the average buyer to buy. We've sounded out the market. There seems to be significant interest in it. One good indicator of how well this product will move is the level of interest and partnerships we're getting from banks who have looked at the intricacies of the product and think it's something that will move very, very fast. And we're currently working on signing up. We believe we'll be in the market soon. We believe it's something that will really act as a catalyst to driving affordability. Then regarding affordability again, there is a certain segment of the market that will struggle to afford a loan, irrespective of how you subsidize it or design it. So for that target market, we're also very concerned about providing alternatives for them. So another product we're looking at, not just looking at, we're coming to the final phases of design, is our rental housing product. We intend to develop and create houses. That product in itself is a both supply side product and a demand side product because it involves us partnering with developers to create houses that meet the utility requirements of a certain segment of the market and also the rental affordability requirements of that segment of the market. And when the rental housing product is pushed in itself, it's also potentially positively disruptive because the intention is to change the game in rent. There'll be no more annual rents. The intention is to take rents on a monthly basis, come into agreements with employers to deduct these rents from people's salaries. The rents, we're targeting making sure these rents come to the market at least 20% below market rates. The houses will be well designed. So we have these products, our rental housing product and our help to loan product that we feel will catalyze demand in the low to moderate income market space and will meet and are targeted to meet their affordability requirements. That's what we have. Thank you.
As you yourself have mentioned, the issue of affordability is a big problem in Nigeria. Even houses that are in the market for 3 million, people cannot, the people that we are building for a family of one cannot even afford it. So this idea of your rental housing, I think, as you said, is very crucial. Though I'll come back to you on that, I can give us more detail, because these are kind of post-COVID incentive that we need from family home fund. And you also mentioned of moratorium. Recently, the Federal Mortgage Bank announced that they're going to do it for 1 year. I don't know how many years you are doing your home moratorium, because I know a lot of people cannot even afford to pay rent now, not to talk of paying any loan with whatever. I come back to you so you can tell me more explanation on that area. Now, I want to go to the Federal Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Corporation. Sir, Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company, Mahindi, we have seen the problem on ground. The problem of the demand side is crucial. The mortgage system seems not to be working in Nigeria. And we are relying on you. So I have this question for you. Can you please give us an update on the mortgage, on the modern mortgage and foreclosure? And what is NMRC doing about it? Because if you can get a breakthrough on that from NMRC, some of these problems will be over. We must acknowledge your partnership, your collaboration with Family Home Fund. But please, Nigerians want to hear from you updates on the modern mortgage and foreclosure and what the NMRC is doing about it.
Thank you very much. This is a very good question, because when we talk about finance, the only way investors get comfortable with giving out money is to be certain that they will get their money back, or there are means for which they can recoup their money back. And right from our inception, we have been the leading front of making the finance environment conducive to both investors and to the mortgagors in the sector. We came up with the model mortgage and foreclosure law, which I'm happy to say 2 states have passed. As of yesterday, I got a letter from the Ekiti state government that the bill is going, as soon as they resume, the bill will be passed. So I'll be going to Ekiti state to sign with the secretary to the state government, the MOU. We have made significant progress with Kwara State. The bill has been drafted. Also in Kwara, we've made significant progress in Edo State and so many other states. I think states are beginning to realize that you need to be mortgage friendly in order to attract the investment that is needed in this sector. Let me say one thing very quickly. This pandemic has resulted in a disruption that is broad, deep, and pervasive. It pervades the entire value chain, economic value chain. It started as a health crisis, but it has quickly morphed into a credit, market, and liquidity crisis. The depth and duration of this crisis will determine how quickly the housing market rebounds. So I'm glad that at least the federal government and then the monetary authority and the fiscal authorities are beginning to come up with some form of intervention. But the breadth and scale of that intervention must be something that is unparalleled in Nigeria, so that we don't end up having a U-curve where we stay on that low trajectory, there's no growth for so long. We want this crisis to be a V-shaped recovery. Going back to your question, I will say that we have made significant progress with state governments. I'm sure in the next 3 to 4 months, depending on how the COVID crisis pans out, you will see a lot of states signing this now, because every state has realized that one of the ways in which you can empower your people, you can unlock the capital tied down in assets, is through the passage of this law. And so I would say that we are making very good progress, and you will be seeing the results in the not too distant future. We have to realize that, every time people talk about just people getting homes, for you to attract finance and even to make the home ownership very important, there must also be a secondary market for that, So it's not that I'm getting the house now, but I should be able to say, okay, in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, I can have an exit to sell this house and maybe move up or move down. And for you to have that secondary market for housing in Nigeria, you need this law. So it is important, as we have delegates and so many people listening to this call, that will put it on the mind of our people and our government, that for us to become mortgage friendly and for us to attract the needed investment into this sector, we need to pass these laws on all the states. So again, we're making very good progress. In the last 1 year, we've done a lot. And because of this, we have seen some investment in some states. We entered into a tripartite agreement with Kaduna State, where we are doing some form of blended finance to create single-digit mortgage, because we feel comfortable that that's a state that has passed this law and is mortgage-friendly, and so we can do business with them. I think other states are beginning to see that this attracts a lot of investment into their states and are beginning to move in the right direction. I'll stop there for now, Barrister.
I think you have made a lot of points to us, and the media people who are part of us will take note of that.
The quality and quantity of available housing stock in any country measures the development and quality of life of her people. On housing development, I make it my top priority to bring to you trending housing information and day-to-day housing plight of Nigerians.
If me as a civil servant working for my country cannot get access to housing,
you have been part of the system that brought in the family home fund, and as a consultant and authority in the system, I know that quite well. You can always provide a solution for us. Now, I think we are lucky to have Mr. Femi. Mr. Femi Adewale here. Okay. Mr. Femi, we are happy to have you here. And I would like to go immediately to you now with a very interesting question. I would have loved you to do a presentation, but because you didn't come, so I'm not going to start the presentation with you. I'm going to go straight away to you with the question. The exchange rate in Nigeria has gone bad. As of today, we are having the naira changing to dollar at 420, 430. And you are still talking of low-cost, affordable housing in family home funds. What is the magic you want to do? Can you please tell us?
Thank you very much, moderator. Yes, the current circumstances that we find ourselves with respect to exchange rates has a very direct impact on the cost of building, and inevitably poses a significant pull on our own objective of achieving housing that is affordable for Nigerians on low income. But we are working to ensure that we manage this situation, and we are operating a program called, we call it the 4 levers. And the primary objective of that is essentially to localize the input into the construction of the housing sector in Nigeria. Certainly the projects for which the Family Homes Fund is accountable and responsible. And that project has the following strands to it. The first is we are working with the Nigerian Institute of Architects and eventually a number of the other professional bodies to standardize housing design, certainly for projects to be financed by the Family Homes Funds. Part of that standardization and the design process would involve prioritizing the use of locally made materials. So that's quite significant from the design stage. The second one, and perhaps the most significant one, is that a large proportion of the inputs into the housing market can be made locally. We have the potential to make doors, we have the potential to make roofing sheets, we have the potential to make tiles, we have the potential to make electric wiring, we have the potential to make window frames, but that has not been possible because the local industry has been killed by cheap imports into Nigeria. So what is the Family Homes Fund looking to do about this? We're looking to aggregate demand. So to give you an example, if we're building about 250,000 houses over the next 3 or 4 years, that should give you on average anything between about 300 times, say 5-6 doors in a house gives you about $1.8 million. If we are able to make and provide a forward order to local manufacturing, possibly even SME door manufacturers, it's important. It's important that it provides them with scale. They are able to access financing on the back of a farm order from the Family Homes Fund to improve their capacity to build, to tool up, to employ more people. And all of a sudden we have a growing manufacturing sector that not only provides building inputs that are cheaper eventually than imported ones because of the foreign exchange pressure, but also provides employment for low-income people. So that is something that we're quite committed to. There's quite a lot of work that's going on that. And I think Banker is on the panel. And if she hasn't, I'm sure we'll be happy to tell you a little bit more about that.
We appreciate you. So good that you are now. I think 2 days ago, the Vice President mentioned that there's need for us to go local and solve our problem in-house. And it's like we're on the same page with the Vice President. We are here to feel it is time for us to solve our problem and go back to the use of local building materials for the purpose of delivering affordable housing. Now, I'll be going to Kano. Malam Ali Magashi, are you with me?
Yes.
Ali, you are the chairman of household savings. You have been a very serious practitioner in the housing delivery system in Nigeria in the last 25 years. You have gone to Harvard to do training. You have been a consultant to World Bank. Please, what do you think is the way out for affordable housing delivery in Nigeria? Because like today, the majority of the people that really need the houses can still not get the houses. So what do you have to say on the platform today?
Good afternoon, Festus, and good afternoon, my dear colleagues in the housing industry. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this webinar, and thank you for the initiative itself to try and bring together professionals and practitioners in the industry. So I think the solution is, rather than to continue discussing technical issues, it is to direct our efforts towards getting governments, in this case, both the subnational and the national governments, to concentrate on providing some kind of window that will facilitate direct access to finance for the people that need them. The kind of housing we're talking about, the affordable housing. The major problem in Nigeria, if you follow all the surveys, is that you'll find out that, first of all, outside agriculture, the next largest contributor to our GDP is the construction sector. And in every town you go to, every major city, let me qualify it. Let's take in Nigeria, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Kano, Abuja, Kaduna. At every entry, all you see are buildings. People are building new houses. They're building those houses because there's a market for those houses. The market is the affordability. People in that sector of houses of 30, 40, 50, 100 million, there are people who can buy those houses. That's why people are building them and they're selling them. Problem is that affordability for 50 million, I'm part of a survey at the World Bank to do an affordability matrix at that time. You realize for the gainfully employed Nigerians, the largest majority within the 30% income, 30% of their income for 60 minus their age, you will find out that they can only afford houses that are below 10 million naira, most of them. And developers in Nigeria in the private sector don't necessarily go and build houses that they will sell for 10 million naira or less than 10 million naira. The reason being they sell cash and carry. They build and sell cash and carry. And they cannot build for that section because that section of the people who need those kind of houses do not have that kind of money. They cannot save that kind of money. And they do not have access to that kind of money. And because of that, nobody builds. So the summary of it is that there is a missing market within that segment of the society. And it is the responsibility of government to try and stimulate the creation of that market by providing that access to finance to that sector of people that cannot afford. Another thing I would like to mention is there's also lack of political will. I know you said we shouldn't talk about politics, but it's not politics. It is meaning even the simple intervention that was done at the micro level, that is the NHF and the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. You'll find out that today, all the people that are supposed to be contributing to the NHF fund, a majority of them, government sectors, are not contributing. You go and find out the strength of the contribution are actually the workers, even the workers, because they've been forced to. So the government that's supposed to give the right example, starting from the central bank to the banks, to other parts of the corporate sector, to contribute to the NHF. 26 years or more into the program today, they're not contributing, and nobody is doing anything to enforce that contribution. And people forget that the NHF is an act of the Nigerian Constitution. It is equal to the act that made the Nigerian president and made the Nigerian governors. So it is very, very important that, first of all, it is part of the rule of law for us to comply to dictates of our Constitution. And that is why until today you find out the NHF, probably the potential of the contribution as micro as the NHF is compared to the need of today based on what it is supposed to be. I do not have the numbers, but I can almost tell you it is less than 20% of what it is supposed to be. So I think we need to kind of direct our efforts towards policies and leaving mortgage efforts to the supply side itself is not enough. Today, as you have just mentioned, the Family Homes Fund has probably built over 3,000 houses in Nigeria that are finished today. You can now find out how many of them, those houses have been sold. It is because the supply side has not been impacted with effort to provide access to finance to the people that need it. Most of the houses of the Family Homes Fund are between 3 million and 15 million. So these are houses that are directed to workers who earn salaries, and they cannot save 30% of their salaries at once over a period of 30 years to give them the affordability to pay for those houses. And that is why it is important to redirect this effort towards the supply side itself. You see towards the demand side of itself. The supply side is very simple. It is entrepreneurship. Once you take care of the demand side, if today Family Homes Fund says that they will pay for, say, 100,000 houses if built, I can assure you, if they say today they will pay 5 million naira, houses of 5 million naira for 100,000 houses, you will see how many entrepreneurs in Nigeria will jump in, and the right people and manpower, project management to manage delivering those houses, because they know at the end of the day, by the time they finish building 100,000 houses, they will take home about 500 billion naira, which is 500 billion naira. Thank you very much.
It has made very sensitive points that the demand side needs urgent attention. The people that really need the houses, who are not able to have the houses, are the major victim of COVID-19. They are the ones living in the slum. And that is why we keep saying that housing is the solution. Housing and health are born by the same father, the same mother. And until our government understands this, we may not be able to go to the next level. So I want to say a very big thank you to you for your request that the government should do more in the area of demand side. Because majority of those people who the family home funds are providing houses for, some of them don't even have the capacity to even pay 5 million, not to talk of 6 million. Some cannot even afford 2 million. And that is the issue at stake. So as we approach COVID-19, post-COVID-19 era, the government must do something critically about the demand side. Now for the general, Brigadier General Tunde Reis, it was so easy for you to come up with the idea of post-service housing for the Nigerian military. You are so strong, so energetic then, so you are moving from one state to another, talking to one governor to another governor, and at the end, you were able to build a lot of houses in almost all the state capitals of this great country. The houses are there. It's not story. They are there in Kwara, they are there in Kogi, they are there in Lagos. General, my question to you is this, and that is the area I wanted to focus your presentation. How can Family Home Fund leverage its unique role to promote transparent collaboration between the public and private sector in the affordable housing industry? Thank you, Brigadier General Retired. I know you're not tired.
Thank you very much, Festus. And a big thank you to my fellow panelists for their insightful contributions so far. I would like to start by commending Festus and his team for making this platform available for this much needed conversation about affordable housing post-COVID. I think what COVID has done is just to highlight the challenges even more, to see that actually what we have always known, that housing is an important aspect of well-being. has just been brought to roost, so to speak, given the current pandemic. I would also like to commend FHF for the work that they've done so far, as well articulated by Dr. Banker and I think Enesi, and later the MD himself. And I can already, as you mentioned, in the way NMRC and family-owned funds are trying to work together. And I also noticed that family-owned funds is already reaching out to state governments, and they are forging that kind of alliance. I think probably what is missing or is not so evident yet, maybe my knowledge of it is limited, is to what extent they are collaborating with the private sector, which is just as important. And in this regard, I'll say that for family-owned funds, what is important, first of all, is to get a clearer sense of what their target audience is, what their end users are, who they are, and how do we define them. The simple definition of low-income earners, I think, may be a little too broad to help us bring into the net the people we are actually aiming for. So I'll invite them to take another look at that, because what we are saying is it's not about what you earn, but what is your disposable income? Typically, if you want to be pre-qualified for a mortgage or for any kind of facility, the lender wants to know how much of what you earn can you realistically put aside. And we also need to know that most of those households in this category of low income, as they have currently defined them, $300 or $350 a month, or 120,000 naira per month, or thereabout, may be a bit difficult, given that most of these people work in the informal sector. And the reality is that their income tends to be sporadic rather than regular on a monthly basis. So it's seasonal. They can make a lot of money during certain periods of the year. If they are traders, maybe during festivities. If they are construction artisans, maybe during the dry season. They'll make most of their money. And when it's raining, there's less work to do when construction activity tends to be in the north. So I'll invite them to go away with this message, which is very key, by way of bringing about that collaboration. FHF, like it's currently doing, must not get tired of innovation. So my watchword to them is ceaseless innovation. They need to continuously find solutions to the myriad of problems along the housing value chain, as some of my colleagues mentioned earlier. And in that regard, they may want to start looking at things like generational mortgages. They may want to start looking at building to let. So far, most of our conversation around mortgages in the country so far have centered around lending to individuals, not to institutions. Can we start to see FHF pioneering lending to regulated landlords, social landlords, those who will have a mandate to ensure that their rents are affordable because they are benefiting from government funding through FHF. And we would also need to look beyond in the informal sector and broaden the spectrum a little bit in terms of who should benefit. We may want to look at workforce housing. The MD mentioned it in his presentation earlier on. He talked about being able to reach the policemen, being able to reach the firemen, being able to reach healthcare workers. Now, this pandemic has shown all of us that it is critical that those who render essential services should not live too far away from where the services are needed. The healthcare workers shouldn't have to commute long distances to where they need to work. Can FHF start to look at providing homes close to where this workforce personnel need to live? And in terms of what government can do to make this easy. The message is clear. We've said time without number. There are a lot of things that can be done without government, but only government can effectively regulate. Government needs to create this industry. Government needs to bring about regulation so that it can bring about trust. We were talking about attracting foreign investors. Nobody wants to play in a market that is unregulated. The roles of the players in this industry remain largely undefined. And government needs to find a way to consolidate the incentives that they make available to the affordable housing sector. By that I mean not giving in one hand and taking away. It is in one regard. The tax authorities should not be taking it away in the other regard. So if government is able to step in this manner and play the role of regulator or creating an enabling environment, it will be a big help to the efforts of not only the Federal Family Home Loans Fund, but the private sector who are involved in supporting the delivery of houses. I think I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, General. You have really impressed me with some of the points you have raised. And I think the media colleagues in the House to take note of all that you have said. A lot of us have been asking, what can government do for the housing sector? We have all heard them. Regulation can bring trust. Without regulation, we cannot get some of the things we are looking for. A lot of people, we know what has been happening in the city. Some people pay money and they cannot get the property. We can't, that will not bring credibility to the system. Creating an enabling environment. These are the issues we have been talking about. And the General has said, family home funds should continue to take and bring in innovations on daily basis, on weekly basis, on monthly basis that can solve the problem of the housing, most especially for the low income, not only in the formal sector, but also in the informal sector. Thank you, Brigadier General Tunires. Right now, we will be going on break for just few seconds, and we'd like to inform all the participants from different parts of the world. I can see you there, different countries, Canada, South Africa. Thank you for connecting. Please, we are just going to put our questions that you will please kindly help us to answer. The question only requires yes or no, the opinion poll. And we're going to put it right now while we are playing the advert. Have you heard of family home funds? Do you know family home fund has put up to 3,000 homes across Nigeria? Do you know family home fund has houses that sell as low as 3 million? Do you know family home fund has provided up to 18,000 jobs in the past 2 years? Do you know family home fund has a product that allows you pay for your home for as low as 20,000 monthly? These are information that we think some of the participants need to go with on the activities, on the achievements of family home fund. Please help us to fill the form while we go on break. I'll be right back. Thank you, all the participants and my very important guest speakers. I welcome you back. Now, I have been receiving so many questions. I have over 50 questions here on ground. I would like to humbly seek the indulgence of the participants that I will not be able to accommodate all the 50 questions, but I will pick those ones that I think are very important. And I would like to remind all the participants that our focus on this webinar is family home funds, mitigating the impact of COVID-19 with new homes and jobs for low-income earners. That is the focus on this webinar discussion today. Now I want to start with my question. I go straight away. Do I have the MD of NMRC? I have a question here.
Yes.
MD NMRC.
Yes, I'm here, Barrister Festus.
Yes, I have a question. Somebody sent a message here asking, can you tell us about the status of Mortgage Warehouse Funding Limited?
Thank you.
I don't know what that kind of question is coming to you, so I don't know. But if you have
it's fine. We're a shareholder in Mortgage Warehouse Funding Limited. So, you know, the way NMRC operates is we wait for loans to season for about 6 months before we refinance. But we realize that some of the primary mortgage banks mostly may have some challenge even coming up with the funds to originate the mortgage for the first 6 months before we come in with our finances. So that led to the creation of a Mortgage Warehouse Funding Limited. It is supposed to provide short-term funding to the mortgage banks to create the loans, and then upon seasoning, we refinance them. The company actually refinanced less than $1 billion, or not refinanced rather, disbursed less than $1 billion last year to kickstart the program. So they have started operation. They provided funding to a few of the mortgage banks. Some of those are beginning to season now and are coming to us for refinancing. So I would say it has started, but they are still working through a few challenges because it's a kind of blended finance. They get money from the capital market through the issuance of CP, which is blended with some funds from some foreign partners to bring down the cost to what is reasonable for the primary mortgage banks to originate the loans. So I would say a test pilot has been done, and then hopefully when we come out of COVID, we'll start seeing a lot of things, a lot of transaction flowing through that entity. So the entities are live, they've done a pilot transaction, and now it's just for everything to start flowing seamlessly through to NMRC.
Thank you so much. Now for Mr. Femi Adewale, I have this for you, Mr. Femi Adewale, MD, CEO, Family Home Fund. What is your relationship with Federal Mortgage Bank and your other sister organization in the delivery of affordable housing in Nigeria?
Thank you. So look, we understand, and I think as a key principle for the Family Homes Fund, that it's totally inconceivable that the fund alone can have any success in addressing the real need of Nigeria's low income. So partnerships and working in partnerships is a key part of what we do. I think we have a very strong relationship with the Federal Mortgage Bank, with the Federal Housing Authority, and of course the NMRC, who are our landlord for in excess of 18 months. So what are those partnerships about? With the Federal Mortgage Bank, who are doing an incredible job. We're collaborating on a set of flagship projects. One of those is in Gwagwalada, where with them and the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, we're hoping to work together to deliver an important model, a new development in excess of 2,000 units. And I think we are looking to play to our respective strengths, in the sense that the Federal Mortgage Bank has significant capacity to address that demand side that Alhaji Magashi talked about, which was around providing affordable mortgages for Nigerians, most of whom need them. And I think that is important. That allows us to confidently go in to provide the construction finance, that is required to execute that project. So that works for both sides. With the Federal Housing Authority, significant and perhaps the largest landholder for housing in the country, we are looking, and I've had several meetings to work together to bring forward a lot of the land that they have with financing to ensure that these lands can be built and developed to provide homes for Nigerians who need them most. And of course, I think as my friend and brother Kehinde NMRC has said, the refinancing window is a significant one going forward. And we are looking at opportunities for refinancing some of our own current exposure so that we can recycle our capital to provide our homes. So I think this really just illustrates the fact that if we're really going to address these issues, we ought to work together, and we are committed to that. But beyond that, our innovation has to stretch beyond innovating in products to also innovating our relationships. How can we continually improve our partnership to ensure that new and better housing is available for Nigerians? Thank you.
Okay. We appreciate your partnership, and I will not let you go. I have this for you. A lot of media partners who are connected on this program are waiting to hear from you. What exactly do you have as palliative in terms of moratorium for people who have been patronizing or who have business with the family-owned fund, other those who have bought your house? Is there anything like moratoriums support at this very crucial time? We'd like to know, what are you doing at this moment for those people who are involved in housing transactions, and especially at the demand side, at family-owned fund? Mr. Femi Adewale.
Okay, look, I think, yes, thank you very much. I think we are probably ahead of the market in the sense that our two key products are both on the supply side, but also on the demand side, already have built into them significant amounts of moratorium that makes life easy for people on low income. I think as my colleague NSC will have introduced, our help to own product includes a 5-year moratorium on interest and principal to people on low income. We hope that coronavirus does not last for 5 years, but for 5 years, those who benefit from that product will not have to pay on that financing for 5 years. So that is on the demand side. On the supply side, we have exposure to date in excess of about 45 billion naira. And on average, at the very least, all of the lenders are now enjoying a minimum of 24 months moratorium on principal. That is, for 2 years, they don't make any payments on principal, and a minimum of 12 months moratorium on interest. In one particular case, because of the specific security problems in that particular zone of the country, the moratorium extends to 36 months. That is 3 years for the supply side. So I think that in spite of the challenges that the virus presents to all of us, our customers on the demand and supply side can at least have a means of relief for a minimum of anything between 12 to 5 years on making payments. Thank you.
Alhaji Ali Magash.
Yes, I am.
No, I've not been enjoying your network, but let me try it again whether your network will allow me to hear you very clearly. I have this matter before me. Government says, the CBN said recently that they're going to intervene in the housing sector. And the 3 particular areas they're going to intervene. Please, I did not see some things like interest rates and other things. Please, can you please also intervene on this platform today by telling us what kind of intervention do you need from government? at this very crucial period of pandemic and after the pandemic?
Well, good afternoon, Festus, again. First of all, I do not want to preempt the central bank because I've not seen any document with the details of the intervention that they have promised. But if you just want my take on what government should do, fiscal stimuli are usually part of recoveries for most governments in terms of either pandemics or any other thing that affects the economy. So my take is the government should actually intervene on both supply and demand side. The supply side is most affected in this case because people have invested a lot in building houses, and the stocks of houses right now with the change of the foreign exchange value, that is an immediate inflation on cost that is affecting the supply side. On the demand side, I would rather, this is going to be a longer conversation because in public finance, you have what you call the targeted subsidy administration. And that must be a very careful financial engineering that will make sure that whatever intervention comes goes directly to potential homeowner. And most subsidy, the loan to value ratio, so that the government can, like for these houses now, the family homes fund that are there to be purchased by workers. Government can decide to pay 10-20% in contribution, and that goes directly to family homes fund to the potential buyers. That is the way you do targeted subsidy administration that will make sure that the positive effect of that subsidy goes to the intended person, in this case, the homeowner. Thank you.
Mr. Makoju, I have a question for you. About 4 or 5 people have sent this question asking you that the best option for you may be rental housing. Another person has a question that you have to buy. You should please kindly clarify the process. Please, can you use this opportunity again in 2 minutes? Tell us about this, your product at Federal Mortgage Bank that empowers the demand side of people to own a house through family home fund, especially your rental housing and help to buy.
So I'll try and do it very quickly in 2 minutes. But firstly, let me say the product is a family homes funds product, not a Federal Mortgage Bank product. I'm sure we know that. Okay, I'll try and use some numbers to illustrate the capacity enhancement feature of the help to buy or help to loan products that we are introducing into the market. Like I had earlier said, the help to loan product is basically structured along 3 lines. Let's assume a house is on the market just for round purposes, right? Let's assume a house is on the market for 10 million naira and a buyer wanted to buy that product. He would go to a normal commercial bank because we're distributing the product through commercial banks and PMIs, the mortgage banks. We're in partnership with a number of them. So he'll walk up to his PMI or his commercial bank and indicate interest in the product. And they'll give him what the eligibility criteria is and the structure. Now we'll focus on the structure. The structure requires that the buyer pays down 10%, as you would typically get for most mortgages, as his equity contribution on the loan. So out of that 10 million naira, the buyer would probably need to put down his 1 million. Now the rest of the structure is such that the commercial bank or the mortgage bank will provide 50% of the value of that house, in addition to the 10% from the buyer. So in the case of this 10 million home, the mortgage bank or commercial bank will contribute 5 million as a standard loan. And let's assume that that loan is given at a market rate of 17% per annum. We, family homes funds, to enhance the capacity of that buyer to buy it. And, as long as the product, the house itself, meets our own eligibility criteria, and it's probably one of the houses we have developed and put on the market, we will fund 40% of that loan. So 4 million naira out of the 10 million naira will be funded by us. So you have 4 million coming from us, 5 million coming from the commercial bank or PMI, and 1 million coming from the buyer. Now, the 5 million from the commercial bank or PMI may be coming in at 17%. Ours has what we call a dynamic interest rate. But the all-in cost at the end of the 20-year tenor of the loan will probably arrive somewhere around 10% per annum. But for the first 5 years, and I'm going to use some numbers to illustrate how we enhance the capacity, apart from the fact that our cheaper interest rates or more affordable interest rates dilutes that 17% from the bank to a lower all-in interest rate. For the first 5 years, because you will not be making any principal repayments on the 4 million, and neither will you be making any interest repayments on the 4 million. All you will be paying for the first 5 years is the 5 million component that the commercial bank or PMI has borrowed you. So what you have in a situation like that, if you threw in the numbers and you simulated this structure, is where a typical 10 million naira loan would have cost you about 127,000 naira a month to pay. That cost would have been brought down to somewhere around 85,000 naira, if not less, a month. And it gets less as the months go by. So therein, from day one, there's almost a 50%, or let me be more realistic, there is at least a 40%, 40+% reduction on the value of repayment you will have to make for the first 5 years. Now, the thesis around which this product was built on, or the premise on which this product was built on, was this. The average mortgage borrower is someone, he's an aspirational career person working in an institution. The expectation is after 5 years, his affordability profile becomes higher. And by the time the repayment on our own 4 million from year 6 kicks in, your income level has increased. And we're talking about family income here now. So these loans, the repayments will probably be coming from your own pool of income as lender, and probably even your wife supporting you. Household income, gross household income. So clearly, and this is a product that, there have been similar design products in other comparable economies. This product has proven all over the world to enhance people's capacity for affordability of mortgage loans. So that's on the Help to Own product, and I hope I've been able to illustrate how it makes it easier. And that product is going to be coming into the market, give or take another 30 days. We expect it to be in the market. Now, on the rental housing, with the rental housing, we're trying to create a product, right, that meets the affordability capacity of what you will call the under-the-radar market segment. Yes, they are moderate to low-income earners, but what they earn generally, hear me talking about a 10 million naira house, and the monthly repayment is 127,000. That's already somebody's full income salary in a month. So with rental housing, we're trying to capture that segment of the market that is under that affordability radar. You see, all over the world, where you're looking at housing, you have your normal upper middle, premium housing, upper middle class housing. Then you come to affordable housing, which we're focusing on. And beneath that is also a type of housing or a structure of housing finance called social housing. It's very popular all over the world. It's akin to rental housing. It's just that many a time, and like we intend to do, it comes with an inherent or embedded option to own. So it's almost like a rent to own. But in the first instance, the basic model is a rental housing model. We've done a lot of work around this. We've created documents, we've done research. We believe this is doable, and we believe the Family Homes Funds as an institution, and with all its inherent benefits and position in its relationship with state governments, being able to bring in people to bring in land free, its ability to generate financing for developers at lower than market rates puts us in a very enhanced position to deliver housing as a much more affordable cost than your normal developer will. So for that reason, the rental rates we can put on those houses as well will be much more affordable than your normal developer will be able to. So we want to create this portfolio of rental houses that are targeted at the formal sector, the under the radar formal sector employees that will struggle to take a mortgage loan, but be willing to rent a house at an average price of 35 to 60,000 naira a month, rather than pay 127,000 naira for a mortgage loan. We've done the designs, we've simulated the costs. We believe this is doable. We're already working with partners to make this happen. And this is something, it's like a social housing product, like I said, that we're looking at introducing into the market, maybe towards the end of this year, early next year. So that's where we are with those two products. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And now to Dr. Banke. The economic situation and rising price of oil will require Nigeria to focus on other areas besides oil, especially for job creation. What plans does Family Home Fund have for job creation, especially with forecasted mass employment? Please, before you answer that question, I have another question that is like it, and that is the question that says, how do you source your artisans? How do you get them? So please, these are the two issues I want you to address. Thank you, Dr. Banke, Family Home Fund Limited.
Thank you so much, Festus, for that question. I think, as you've rightly pointed out, there's a great need to diversify our economy. This is something that has been said over and over again, but this crisis has even made it more imminent. We have been exposed to the danger of over-reliance on imports, both in finished and intermediate goods. And we've seen that particularly with the health sector, the pharmaceutical sector, whereby governments all over the world have asked that exports of certain essential supplies be limited. Now, what if that happened to us in the construction industry? Family Homes Funds had already been considering and is working now towards creating jobs by enhancing the supply chain, the value chain for input materials. So we'll be working closely with our developers to source and locally manufacture our various input materials. To give an example, in 2019, we as a country, we imported about 606 billion naira worth of stone, plaster, cement, asbestos, things, input materials for the construction industry. As the MD had mentioned earlier, we see a great opportunity to be able to do those things locally, and it would also help to create jobs. So basically enhancing local manufacturing, and this can take different formats. Number one, on-site manufacturing, making sure that on our project sites, we are on our project sites, materials are being manufactured, or they can be sourced from local clusters in the neighborhood and other manufacturers around. The second area is we'll continue to strengthen our sourcing and working of construction workers on site. And so right now we have created, as Festus, you alluded to earlier, over 18,000 jobs. In a site in Nasarawa, for example, where we have concluded 582 units, 4,358 jobs were created directly, and an estimated 13,000 jobs indirectly, and that's been conservative. And so we'll continue to work on that. To answer the second question on how we source for our artisans, this is really the jobs of the developers that we work with, but we are clear in providing good health and safety standards to ensure that our work sites are really good places to work. Another initiative that we are planning to roll out is to strengthen training and skills improvement on our various job sites, so that those who are new to the construction sector can also find opportunities within our job creation site. So those are the things that we're working on to ensure that mass employment is done through family homes funds. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a brilliant contribution. We'll be getting ready to your last statements for the day. I'll be coming back very shortly. I appreciate your contributions and the answers you have given. Now, I'm going down to Brigadier General Reyes. Brigadier General Reyes, during your period as the Chief Executive of Post-Service Housing, where you were in the military, you were building houses from one state to the other. That connotes that you were relating with the state government. At present, the value of our water is more than the value of the oil. So what is next for the government? Is for them to accept housing as a tool for economic development in their domain. How do you take stakeholders in the housing industry? Because already family-owned funds have been engaging state governors. So what do you think is the role of state governors in housing delivery, especially the affordable housing? What can they do? You have mentioned interventions at the federal level. I want us to go down to the concurrent list, the owners of the land. We can't be talking in the federal without considering the man in Lagos, the man in Enugu. So what do you have to say? How were you doing it? And what advice do you have for family-owned funds on this subject matter?
Well, thank you very much, Festus. I think regulation as it affects housing or planning is essentially a state affair. The federal government can only give direction, so to speak. But most of those laws have been are state laws, I think, has already been indicated. I think it was the MDNMRC and also the MD of Family Home Funds that mentioned that some states have made more progress than others. But I think as part of its stakeholder engagement initiative, family home funds need to help state governments see the benefits of affordable housing delivery. You know, they need to see it not so much as an expenditure, but as an investment that would bring to their states numerous returns, not only economic, but also socio-economic, not only economic benefits, but also welfare benefits. It will actually improve the well-being of their people. I mean, culturally, when you want to evaluate the well-being of anyone, you want to see where they live and how well they live. You know, so you cannot say that our states are developing if we do not give our people a stake in housing. The idea of sovereignty or the idea of having a state is tied to the very notion of territory. Every state has its boundaries. So if we cannot give the citizens, residents or indigenes of each state, a portion of that territory that they can call their own either by rental or as state-provided supported housing or as the home they are paying a mortgage on, then we haven't really started to talk about the socioeconomic emancipation of our people. I would like to encourage family home funds to lead the drive in encouraging state governments to see the value of seeing affordable housing as an investment rather than an expenditure.
That's a very good one. Now, to my speaker in London, Mr. Oluolariwaju, are you still with me? Mr. Oluolariwaju in London.
I'm fine.
Just with me. I have a question here. The question borders on data. And the person said, how is family home fund able to know the type of houses a particular state requires? Most especially, how did they get information? So now that brings the question of data. Do we really need data in Nigeria for housing development? Is it really important? Please, in the country where you are, How is the issue of data being handled? What importance do they place on it? We'd like to hear from you.
I think everybody, I think every country we operate in requires data. A lot of the conversations we've talked about, in order to identify the right solution, it always be premised on the right information, because it then gives you the ability to come up with the right. So you know, to identify the problem, you need data so that you can come up with the right solution. And instead of even spending time on examples in Europe, I think it's worth saying that there are parts of Africa where countries like smaller than Nigeria, like Rwanda, places a lot of emphasis on data, and a lot of policy making is informed by the data and information they collect. So as an example, I mean, some of the conversation we've just had now, it'll be interesting to find out. A lot of slums in Nigeria, we would need to gather some of the data around them, so that if we're going to provide a solution, we need to know the extent of overcrowding, and to identify what solutions we need to prefer in order to address them. So to your fundamental question, though, your fundamental assumption is that data is accurate, is needed. My understanding about some of the ways FHF have collected data, but the staff there may be better able to answer that. But my understanding was that a lot of their solutions, like what the housing target cost should be, what should be the income profile should be, all that was predicated about collecting, in some cases, primary data. In some cases, they were using data available. So as an example, I know that there was a lot of work done with the state and the federal government to use some like salary grades in order to design what the income profile or income segment should be. So yes, and I think as they're building more, as FHF is building more properties, they'll be collecting data around jobs created, specification, build cost, because I know, for example, they've got what they call a total cost indicators, which helps them to identify what the basic cost per meter will be. So quickly, they can start making decisions about proposals they receive. So, and the same applies to the Help to Buy program. It predicates on collecting a lot of information. And FHF are in a unique place at the moment that they have a lot of transactions coming up, and they need to start collecting the data and help inform and provide evidence to inform policy. So most countries, just to finalize, they do use data, but most importantly, they use it to inform the policy development.
Mr. Adewale, I will get back to you in a few minutes after this advert. I will get back to you after this advert.
Okay, thank you.
The quality and quantity of available housing stock in any country measures the development and quality of life of her people. On housing development, I make it my top priority to bring to you trending housing information and day-to-day housing plight of Nigerians.
If me as a civil servant working for my country cannot get access to housing loan, I don't know what else we can do.
Can you imagine that somebody will pay for 2 years rent and he's not sure of the next 3 months money in his pocket?
I also analyze the housing policies and strategies of government with stakeholders.
Let the federal government next level be seen in the area of housing. Nigerians deserve to be housed.
Housing issue is a journey of 1,000 miles. I don't think that anybody can pretend that we're going to close the 17 million homes gap in 5 years.
Housing development is your one-stop source for housing information. Join me.
We have been focusing on the subject, family homes funds, mitigating the impact of COVID-19 with new homes and jobs for low-income earners. Before I ask all the speakers to say their last statement of the program, I will still give the MD Family Home Fund the opportunity to answer this very important question. I have over 50 questions here. I will only take the one I can afford. The question is this, Mr. Femi Adewale, How do you incorporate housing corporation and real estate developers as agents of mitigating of COVID-19 to take care of people who are not whatever, I can't get this person right up, without regular income? I believe we should be able to comprehend what they're trying to say. Maybe how do we involve housing corporation? How do we use them as agent or whatsoever we want to do in the course of this post-COVID-19 housing strategies in your organization?
Okay, thank you, moderator. I think that as an institution, the Family Homes Fund has been quite consistent about our commitment to developing a very strong partnership, first with the Association of Housing Corporations of Nigeria and also with the Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria. And with the Housing Corporations, Association of Housing Corporations of Nigeria, that partnership is likely to be predicated on joint working on the rental housing scheme. Now, I personally believe that of all the things that the Family Homes Fund can do in the short term, rolling out a viable, well-designed and effective rental housing scheme is probably the game changer. As a number of the speakers have said, the big challenge for the housing market is the significant constriction that we have in our demand side. The level of mortgages that's been issued at the moment is quite small, and I appreciate a lot of work is going on to increasing that. But if we're going to achieve the kind of supply that we need, which could be about 200,000 homes from a whole range of actors over per annum, we need to do something very quickly around the demand side. And all of that burden cannot be put on the mortgage sector alone. And particularly for those who are in the informal sector on low income, I think that rental housing with an option to buy, which is what we are bringing to the market, provides a significant opportunity to both increasing supply, but enabling people who are on low income, but also in the informal sector, to access housing, build credit reports, and then, if they so choose, access mortgages. We're hoping that we can work with the AHC and the Association of Housing Corporations, because actually in their history, this was what quite a lot of them were established to do. Over the years, there's been a slow migration away from that, but I think between us, we have agreed that that is something that whose time has come. And there is a joint working committee between the Family Homes Fund and the Association of Housing Corporation to weave our own ideas into theirs. And I want to use this platform to announce that we welcome other players in the sector to join us in developing a formal rental housing sector that serves Nigerians, particularly the majority of Nigerians who are in the informal sector. With the Real Estate Developers Association, I just had a meeting with the leadership today, and we will do a number of things, and we are doing a number of things at the moment in terms of financing private developers. We will be doing that. We are appointing developers in some cases to support our quality control. But I think in the medium term, where I see a significant opportunity for partnership is working with Redan to develop the capacity of our developer market, the development sector. The truth, may be a bitter one, is that most of our developers are at best SMEs. They are possibly not likely to be able to attract significant capital. They probably don't have the skills now to develop at the scale that is needed to meet housing needs. But these things will come. And I hope that, again, alongside with other players, we can work with Redan to create a new class and to lift our developers to be super developers that can confidently handle significant scale projects, give confidence to the capital market, to the lending market, to attract significant amounts of capital that is needed to develop the kind of homes that we get. That is a specific priority for me, and I think my team, in terms of our partnership with the Real Estate Developers Association. They have some very interesting development projects that we have started to talk about, and I think we'll support them there. But at the top of the list for me is creating an army of well-equipped, well-trained, strongly developed entities that can build 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 homes on a continuous basis over a long period of time. The truth is that currently we don't have that. And I think we hope that we can have an opportunity to work with the Real Estate Developers Association to create that. Thank you very much.
At the level of manufacturing the houses, and you cannot really do the manufacturing unless all these people are with you. We appreciate your vision. Now, we are approaching the end of this webinar discussion. I want to thank all the people who have connected. You can see a lot of people here. My colleagues in the media, I appreciate you. We have heard a lot. Policy statement from the Family Home Fund, Chief Executive, and the team. You have also heard from the leaders in the housing sector. Far from outside the country, you have seen their contributions toward the development of this country, especially in the area of affordable housing. At this point, which is the concluding part of this program, permit me to start from General Reyes to say his last statement. One statement as the final word on this program today.
Well, thank you very much, Festus and my fellow panelists. My message will be very simple. It's simply to tell FHF not to stop innovating, to keep innovating, and particularly look to funding from faith-based associations, faith-based entities. We are a very religious nation. Look there for funding, not only from the capital market. And for governments, whether at federal or state level, the message is just to build trust in the industry. And government should lead that trust-building exercise by honoring its commitments, whether at state level or at federal level. Whatever government has committed to, they should try and make sure they fulfill it, no matter how small that is. Thank you very much, and I hope we succeed in this effort.
Mr. Oluwalariwaju, what message do you have for us from London?
Yes. I think my parting message to FHF is going to be one around what I said earlier. Nigeria needs functioning institutions. In countries where affordable housing have worked, they have institutions that are focused, and by mean focused, I'm talking from the board down to the frontline staff of this organization, that there's an alignment between the strategic objectives and what they deliver year on year on. So my parting words to FHF is that, or even the promoters of FHF, I don't think it's FHF alone, the need for this institution to be successful is important. And I think if it can be encouraged to be successful, and we also then need to think about its achievement over a long-term profile. A lot of what Nigeria needs to do is not going to happen overnight. And I think we just need to be realistic that we're talking about medium term to long term. And if the organization is allowed to breathe and is allowed to strive, I see no reason why it cannot contribute to the development of affordable housing in a big way in Nigeria, and possibly be a shining example in Africa.
Thank you so much, sir. Koju, we'd like to hear your parting statement on this program today. Mr. Hennes, Mark, would you?
All right, sir. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. It's been a privilege to have this opportunity. We have all heard the various admonitions and advice that have been given to us as an institution. I would also want to say one thing. The importance of our role in the economy, I believe, has been further emphasized by the current circumstances. More so, I think it's also become very clear that as part of the government's strategy to deal with the economic challenges and the issue of unemployment, a lot more emphasis and investment is going to be made into the housing sector. And we're clearly one of the vehicles that government will be looking to utilize in achieving its objectives. We very much have our eye on the ball. As an institution, since we resumed back from work, it's been business as usual. We are very focused on achieving the objectives that were set out to us before COVID, and we still intend to go ahead as planned after COVID. We are aware of the financial challenges. There's no doubt about that. Those will exist. But we had always planned, and it's a very, very strong component of our strategy to find financial sustainability from partnerships with development finance institutions all over the world. And we'll be doing a lot of that on our capital mobilization side. So thank you for this opportunity, and we hope to have a lot more of it going forward as we continue to progress.
Thank you so much. Dr. Bank, I would like to hear your parting statement.
I'd like to say thank you again for this opportunity, and thank you for all the comments and the feedback and the advice that has been given to Family Homes Funds. As my colleague has said, we remain focused, we remain committed, and we remain committed to our mantra of changing lives through the provision of jobs and the provision of affordable housing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. MD Nigerian Mortgage Finance, my brother, please. I'd like to hear something.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think my parting comment is that those who succeed are usually not those who find doing things easy, but those who enjoy doing difficult things. So you don't find provision of affordable housing is a big challenge. And so we should continue. We have been partnering with FHF and all the other organizations in the build sector. FHF should continue with that innovation and collaboration that they've started and they're working on. And it is by doing that that we'll be able to solve this huge challenge that is before us. At NMRC, we're working with FHF on every front. We want the help to own, on how to securitize, even the rental cash flows and a few other things. As soon as they're developing a product, they bring us on board and we work with them to see what role can we play, because it's a big challenge. But I believe that because we enjoy doing these difficult things, we will find a solution in the not too distant future. Kudos to FHF.
Before I go, I think remain Mr. Femi Adewale to say his last word on his platform for today. Family Home Fund, Civil Secretary, your parting statement.
Okay, thank you, moderator. I also want to thank my colleagues on the panel, my team, and dear friends, General Kehinde, my permanent lifelong landlord, Alaji Magashi, and our participants. Thank you very much. I think we've taken your very useful advice to heart. Family Homes Fund really became operational about 15 months ago. So we understand there's a huge amount of learning and development that we have to do. And I think some of your contributions have been extremely helpful in helping us to forge a way forward. And we appreciate that very much. Thank you very much.
At this point, I want to say a very big thank you to our very important guest speakers for today's webinar discussion. Before I round up, I want to announce that by Thursday, we'll be going to Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria and also highlight the activities and see what they have in plan for Nigerians at post-COVID-19. And in the afternoon of Thursday, we'll be looking at job creation for artisans. And after that, we are planning to bring some governors on board to tell us how did they intend to manage at this very crucial time that the oil has lost its value. These are the plans we have as far as discussing housing is concerned. I want to say a very big thank you to my media colleagues who have been connected to me for the past 2 hours. I spent 2 hours now. I want to say a very big thank you to you. I've told you our commitment is to ensure that the right things are done, and we will ensure that the right things are provided in this country. I thank you so much, my partner in the media, and I want to thank all the stakeholders, Housing Development Advocacy Network Group. You have been so wonderful. I thank you. Some of you have connected all the way from South Africa, Canada, UK, Kenya. I can see you. I appreciate all of you. We really appreciate you. And other stakeholders who are connected. I've been seeing some messages on my phone. And who call professional builder, engineer, QS, architects. I want to say thank you to all of you. And I want to tell you that we continue to do what is best for the development of housing sector. To Family Home Fund, we say thank you for your collaboration. We told you of the need to look at your activities at this era, and you responded to us favorably. We are saying thank you to you publicly. We appreciate your cooperation. All members of staff of Family Home Fund, my brother Femi Adewale, thank you so much for your cooperation. Now to the stakeholders, my last message to you on this platform today is to be selfless, to be selfless, to be selfless. It is time for us to make our institutions to work. Our interest must not be the one at the top, but our interest should be how to make this country move forward. I remember talking to somebody this morning that it's time for us to start thinking of what we can do for this country, other than what we can collect from the existing institutions. To the government of Nigeria, I know some of them are connected to us, and if they are not, some I know it's from our Federal Ministry of Housing and also hearing Ministry of Finance. I want to tell you, our message to you is very clear. Please have a political will to make housing affordable in Nigeria. Please, the problem of COVID-19 have exposed our problem in the housing sector. Now, majority of people are not living in fear. The COVID-19 has moved from Maitama, Asokoro, down to the remote area. We see our situation now, but I know God will help us. To the government of Nigeria again, we charge you to reduce your influence on our institutions. Allow our institutions to work. That is the message from Housing Development Advocacy Network. Political interference that will not make any institution to deliver on their mandates will be stopped. That is the end of today's webinar on Family Homes Fund. I say very thank you to everybody, the guest speakers. General Kunderes, you are wonderful. My brother, Ogundemu, thank you so much. My brother, all the way, Olu Alariwaju, thank you for always supporting. I know you love this country, but I don't know how to drag you back to this country to live in it. I don't know how that would be possible. You know, we are succeeding in getting Mr. Femi here. So we can kidnap you here. So I want to thank my Alhaji Ali Magashi. You have been a great man since I know you. You are very supportive. The great people in the Family Home Fund, please keep supporting and keep working together as a team. Here is the end of the webinar for Family Home Fund for May 2020. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.
you.